When you see a movie or a TV show that shows people hacking on a computer and it looks realistic, it looks like they're typing down actual code, it looks like they're using a computer that you might actually use, then you know you're watching some genuinely good content. Mr. Robot was created by Sam Esmail. It's a psychological techno thriller that stars Rami Malek as Elliot Alderson. Now, Elliot is a security engineer at a company called AllSafe Cybersecurity, whose biggest client is the worldwide conglomerate known as E-Corp, or known to him as Evil Corp. By night, Elliot is a vigilante hacker on his computer, hacking into the accounts of every single person he has ever met or has ever known, and learning all about them. When he sees someone that seems to have done something heinous and possibly illegal, he'll carry out justice, whether it's simply just blackmail or sending that information anonymously to the police. He has a social anxiety disorder and lives very isolated from other people. He struggles socially. He has clinical depression. He's disturbed. He's a person with mental problems. His entire world changes when he encounters a mysterious person known only as Mr. Robot, played by Christian Slater, who invites him into an organization known as F Society, kind of this show's version of the real-life hacktivist organization Anonymous, in which they are trying to recruit Elliot in order to bring down this global conglomerate known as E-Corp. Their goal is to not only bring down this conglomerate once and for all, but use its resources to be given back to millions of people, many of them being in credit card debt with Evil Corp due to their scheming business practices. So it's very much a 1% versus the 99% kind of fight that they envision, as they hope to start a social revolution that the world has never seen before. Other characters in this show include Darlene, played by Chaikin, who's one of the F Society hackers that Elliot gets closest to. We have Portia Doubleday as Angela Moss, who's Elliot's best friend and a fellow employee at AllSafe, and Martin Wallstrom, who plays Tyrell Wellick, who's the senior vice president of technology at Evil Corp. He is a power-hungry person that wants to have a higher position in the company and will do whatever he can to get to it, even if it means seeking the help of Elliot, who does not share his interests at all. The pilot episode of this series was directed by Niels Arden Oplev, who directed the very first Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movie, the Swedish version, not to be confused with the American remake directed by David Fincher. Now, that being said, if you like David Fincher, then you're gonna love this show. This show has a lot of Fincherisms, if you will. While the color scheme may not be blue and gold, like in many of his movies, you see a lot of dark tones in the color. Nothing is ever truly bright. And if it is bright, then you know something is very seriously wrong. When the camera moves, it moves smoothly with an omniscient vision, like God himself is controlling the camera, not a mere mortal like one of us. And when the camera is still, it's still. It's really still. You don't see it budging. It's not someone holding it trying to sit still. No, it's on a tripod and that sucker is not moving. And if the camera is moving and it moves with a handheld type of sensibility, then you will notice it. Not just the camera work, but you will also notice the scene that's happening, because those kind of camera movements are not used very often on the show, and when they are, it's in a very special moment. It's used sparingly. Something else to point out in the cinematography, usually in most TV shows and movies, they try to have the person somewhat center and frame to where your eyes are drawn to the center, and that way the space around it merely frames the person, if you will. There's not like a severe amount of white space that has no purpose or anything. However, in this show, people are framed like this. A lot. And it's not how you would normally shoot something. It's not what they would teach in film class, but in this show, this kind of framing works. Having a person on the side with a lot of space over here and a lot of space up here, it works. And I think it works because it gives off the idea that characters are isolated on this show. That they are small in comparison to the big world that's happening around them. One thing's for sure, there's a lot of thought given to the cinematography of this show. A lot of thought, not just in the cinematography, but the way the characters are acting, the way the show looks. It looks very realistic, it's very crisp. It doesn't look like you're on a set. It's very well thought out. It doesn't look like an average television show that was shot as efficiently as possible. They took really good care, special care, of this show. What's also really cool about this show is Elliot. This character is the television version of what literary professors might call the unreliable narrator. Yes, he does narrate this show. However, unlike most television shows and movies in which narration is merely just a storytelling device that lets us into the characters' minds and tells us some background information that would have been very clunky as dialogue, the narration on this show is actually kind of part of the story. It adds to the character of Elliot. You see, the reason he narrates, he's not really narrating, he's actually talking to himself in his mind. Because we are his imaginary friend that he creates in his mind to talk to. He knows we're imaginary, or in the world of this show, we are, but he needs us to talk to. And he would talk to us via narration, not necessarily, well, sometimes to the camera, but not always. Usually it's his thoughts. But he would talk to us. Ask us about what's going on. Ask him, did we just see what he saw? That kind of thing. Really interesting. And it adds to the idea that we're not quite sure if we can really trust this character, hence him being the unreliable narrator. You're not quite sure if what you're seeing, the information you're seeing on screen, is real, if it's reliable, or if it's just a fabrication of his mind. In other words, there is a concern for the audience member that the main character might just be insane. And it lingers on your mind, and then you think about it again as the season comes to an end. Because, like I said, this is also a psychological thriller in ways that you won't realize when the show starts, but by the time the first season ends, you'll realize this is a psychological thriller big time. Because there's a couple of twists that happen towards the end of the season. I'm not going to spoil what they are. I'm not even going to give you another movie plot twist to compare it to, because this is a twist that cannot be spoiled. But there's a big twist that happens that changes the entire way you think of the episodes that were aired earlier. That's how interesting this show is. I can't wait for the second season. I can't wait for next summer. It's going to be great when it comes back on next summer. It's already been renewed for a second season. They renewed it before the series even premiered on television. I hope that Sam Esmail, the writer, director, creator, producer of this show, yeah, he directs some episodes too, that's cool. I hope he has a real plan in place. He knows where the show is going. He has an end game in mind, a beginning, middle, that kind of thing. I hope he's not taking this in a season-by-season type of thing. I mean, this doesn't seem like a show that can really go on more than 5 seasons, necessarily. So I hope that there is a plan of sorts in place. And I am very curious to see that plan, if there is one, play out. If you're waiting for the next season of House of Cards because you like how it feels like a David Fincher movie every episode you watch, if you're waiting for season 4, take your time with this show in the meantime. It's just 10 episodes this season, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed in Mr. Robot, because Mr. Robot is not only a good, dark thriller show, it's not only the best show USA has ever put in quite a long time, in my opinion, it's also just a damn good television drama. Thanks for watching my review of Mr. Robot Season 1, and I'll see you next time.